Welcome to The Explainer. You know, for patients with end-stage kidney disease, hemodialysis is everything. It's not an option, it is survival. And the absolute key to that treatment is something called an access. It is quite literally their physical lifeline. So today, we're going to break down how this lifeline is built, what puts it in danger, and how doctors fight like heck to save it.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we're going to get a handle on what this lifeline actually is. Then, we'll dive into the main threats that cause it to fail. After that, we'll learn how to read the warning signs, and finally, we'll look at the medical missions, both the preventative ones and the emergency responses, to keep this critical connection up and running.
Okay, first up, the dialysis lifeline. Now, to really get why saving an access is so important, you first have to appreciate what a marvel it is. The best way to think about it, it's like a custom-built superhighway for your blood. See, a dialysis machine has to process a ton of blood, fast. We're talking over 400 milliliters every single minute. Your average vein just can't handle that kind of pressure. It would blow out. So what surgeons do is they create this special connection, an AV access, that essentially beefs up a vein by hooking it directly to a powerful high-flow artery. This makes it tough and resilient enough for the heavy demands of dialysis week after week. And this isn't just about one surgery and you're done. The whole philosophy here is guided by something called the ESKD Life-Plan. The reality is, patients might need dialysis for years, sometimes even decades. So the goal is to think way ahead, to create a personalized, long-term strategy. It's all about preserving this lifeline to make sure they get consistent, high-quality treatment with as few interruptions as possible. All right, so we've got this incredible superhighway. But just like any highway, it can get traffic jams. And this is, without a doubt, the #1 threat to every single dialysis patient's access.
The main culprit has this fancy name, intimal hyperplasia. And it's kind of ironic, really. The very things you need to create the access, the surgery, the high-speed blood flow, they cause stress. And the body's response is to heal itself. But in this case, the body goes into overdrive, building up this thick, scar-like tissue that slowly but surely clogs the vessel from the inside out. It's like a slow-motion traffic jam building up over months or years. And you can really see the chain reaction here. It all starts with that initial trauma to the vessel. That kicks off the body's natural healing response. But over time, that healing process goes too far, leading to a buildup of tissue. This causes a dangerous narrowing, called a stenosis, that can eventually choke off the blood flow entirely.
But you know, intimal hyperplasia isn't the only villain in this story. Other things can cause an access to fail too. For example, if a patient has low blood pressure or their heart isn't pumping as strong, there might not be enough oomph to keep the blood flowing through properly. Even the thousands of needle sticks needed for treatment can cause their own wear and tear over the years.
So, if this lifeline is heading for trouble, how do doctors in the dialysis team actually spot the clues? Well, it's a bit like detective work, really. It's a combination of using their own senses and looking at high-tech data.
Now this is what's really fascinating. You can learn so much from a simple physical exam. A healthy access has this continuous, gentle vibration you can feel. They call it a thrill. And if you listen with a stethoscope, you hear a low-pitched whooshing sound, a bruit. But in an access that's failing, that gentle thrill turns into a hard, hammering pulse, and the sound becomes a high-pitched whistle. It's a dead giveaway that there's a narrowing somewhere in the line. The dialysis machine itself is an incredible early warning system. I mean, think about it. If the machine has to push way too hard to return the cleaned blood, you get a high venous pressure alarm. That's your downstream traffic jam. And if it's struggling to pull blood out in the first place, you'll see a high negative arterial pressure alarm. It's like trying to suck a super thick milkshake through a tiny straw. This number, KT/V, is basically the report card for each dialysis session. It's a measure of how well waste products were actually cleared from the blood. You're aiming for a score of 1.2 or higher. If that number starts to drop, it is a huge red flag that the access just isn't flowing well enough to get the job done. And here's another critical number to watch, especially for prosthetic grafts. There's this threshold. Once the flow rate inside that access drops below 600 milliliters per minute, the risk of it clotting off completely just skyrockets. It's a flashing red light saying, we need to intervene, and we need to do it now.
So what happens when all those warning signs start popping up? Well, it's time to launch a preventative mission, to get in there and repair the access before it fails completely.
Doctors basically have two main toolkits for this.
On one hand, you've got traditional open surgery, which means making an incision to physically patch or bypass the bad section. On the other hand, you have percutaneous techniques, which are way less invasive. They're done through a tiny needle puncture, using tools like balloons and stents to fix the problem from the inside.
The most common of these minimally invasive fixes is the balloon angioplasty. It's pretty amazing. They guide a tiny, deflated balloon on a wire right to the site of the traffic jam. Then they inflate it to these incredibly high pressures, 20 atmospheres or more, to literally crack open that tough, rubbery scar tissue and get traffic flowing freely again.
But what happens when that traffic jam becomes a total 100% roadblock? Well, now we're talking about a dialysis emergency, and it requires a rapid, all-hands-on-deck response to clear a thrombosed or clotted-off access.
Thrombosis is the end game for a failing access. A blood clot forms, and just like that, it seals the whole thing off. And this is a code red situation, because without a working access, the patient can't get their life-saving dialysis. The clock is ticking big time. So the rescue mission begins. Doctors will thread catheters right into the clot itself. From there, they can use powerful clot-busting drugs to dissolve it. Or they can use special mechanical devices that act like tiny rotor-rooters to break it up and suck it right out. But, and this is absolutely crucial, after the clot is gone, they have to fix the underlying narrowing that caused it in the first place. If they don't, it's just going to happen all over again.
And that brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? To the ESKD Life-Plan. This whole cycle, from creating the access, to monitoring it, to intervening when there's trouble, it just highlights why you need that long-term, individualized strategy. It's not about just putting out fires. It's about thoughtfully managing and preserving this lifeline for the long haul. So, this leaves us with a really important question for the future. Look, modern medicine is incredible at salvaging failing accesses. But the real goal, the holy grail, is to move beyond just making repairs. The challenge ahead is to develop new techniques, new materials, and new strategies to create lifelines that are so resilient, they're not just salvageable, they are built to last a lifetime.